Hi, I'm Emily. I'm the art director with National Strategic, and you might recognize me from Content Corner with Zach and Emily. Last week when we did Content 101, we talked about who your targeted audience is and why it's important to find that out. And we mentioned that Eugene over here, who is one of the managing partners of National Strategic, has a plethora of information about how you find out who your target audience is. So Eugene, the first question I have for you today is, why is it important to know your customers? Why do you want to know who your customers are before you just throw everything at them?
Yeah, so great question, Emily. And before I answer the why it's so important to know, I'm going to touch on that customer piece. And this is actually something I hear a lot from a lot of our clients is, I had a customer come in, I talked to a customer, I have a lot of customers who do X, Y, Z. And I really admire one distinction that one of my mentors, Jay Abraham, makes this really great distinction between customer and client. And to really address that a little bit further, a customer is a transaction. It's like you walking into a gas station and buying gas or buying milk, and you're kind of a faceless transaction. You spent $2.99 on a gallon of milk, or you spent $30 at the pump, whatever it is, and then it's a faceless transaction. No one knows your name. It doesn't really matter, and it's exactly that. It's just it's like a commerce transaction done. That's what a customer is. You think about what a client is, and especially the way Jay Abraham so eloquently elaborates on this. A client is someone under your deep level of care. It's somebody who you have a fiduciary responsibility to perform for, who you have a fiduciary responsibility to care for. And if we think about it, any business, our business, we really care for our clients. Their business honestly depends on some of the work that we do. And so, it's our fiduciary responsibility to really put our best foot forward to serve our client in the best possible way. But if you switch it over to any of our clients' businesses, I don't care if you are in the medical industry, I don't care if you're in the service industry, I don't care if you're in the car industry, it really doesn't matter. Anyone they transact with they should perceive that person to be a client. And so what that means is that they have a fiduciary responsibility to completely and most effectively serve that person in the deepest possible way, in the most comprehensive possible way. If that person comes in, I don't care if you're a car dealer and that person comes in and says, well, I've got my daughter's graduation and I'm really struggling to figure out the best vehicle for her. I want to get this gift for her, whatever. It might be in your best interest, if that was a customer, it might be in your best interest to maximize that transaction and sell them the most expensive car and say, oh, your daughter's really going to love you for this. But it might also be but if you're treating that person like a client, you may need to take the time to get to know them, to understand their individual situation, and to sell them maybe something that's a little bit of a lower margin product, but to keep them coming back and to strengthen that relationship, knowing full well that their 18-year-old daughter might crash that car in the next year or something like that. And so, hey, maybe we go from the new car lot to the used car lot and just get her something safe that can sell for a wreck. And
it's actually funny that you use the car analogy, because that happened to me in my personal life. I went and I bought a car from a guy downtown, and he helped me out and he really kind of explained the whole process to me, and I got a really good deal on it, which is awesome, because then I turned into his client. So my husband needed a new car and I sent him there, and my brother needed a new car,
right,
and I sent him there, and then my friend actually from Florida needed a new car and she was looking for a really specific Mustang, and I found it for her together with the car salesman, and we were able to get that for her. So from just treating me well as a client instead of as a customer to make a quick buck off, he then made a whole bunch more money.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because the client analogy, or the client the client mentality, allows our clients to actually maximize the value of the relationship that they have with their clients, and it allows it puts you in a position where if you're looking at your transactions as clients, it allows you to really lengthen and prolong the relationship that you have with every single individual that you in fact transact with. And to get back to your earlier point of why it is that we want to know who our target market is, well, we really have a deep level of responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility to our clients to get to know them as deeply as possible. And when we understand how it is that we serve these people, we need to be able to serve people just like them. Mm-hmm. And so my perspective on the target market analogy is a little bit different than I think than most people. Maybe it's just a little bit of a different twist, is that instead of just kind of saying, okay, my target market is, these people, middle-aged, middle-income people in such and such households, what we really need to know is, who is it that you really serve today? How is it that you're serving them? What do they appreciate about what it is that you do for them? And then let me find people with similar needs who can appreciate that same thing about you, who can be similarly satisfied clients. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does actually, and it's good you bring that up because I actually had a friend who knows that I'm a business consultant, and she came to me with her business plan for her bakery, and under target demographic, all she wrote was people who are hungry.
So like her bakery was, her target market was?
Hungry people. And that's I told her that she maybe needed to do a little bit more research on that and find out who exactly her target demographic is and how she can market to them successfully so that her business is, of course, successful.
One of the techniques that people always use when they're looking at their existing customer base to figure out how it is that, which customers are the ones that you want to replicate, which customers are the ones you want to get more of, is the 80-20 rule. I know we've talked about this a lot, but the 80-20 rule is one where it's very very common, very commonplace in both sort of business and human psychology. But in most cases, 20% of your customers make up 80% of your revenue, right? Or 20% of your inventory makes up 80% of your revenue, and it's very it varies a few percent here and there, but it's a great benchmark and it's a good baseline to look at as a guiding principle to say which customer base is the one that is truly profitable for me, and who are the customers that I want more of.
Okay, and I know we've talked a lot about the 80-20 rule, and it's good as a base guideline, but it's not a hard and fast rule. So what are some of the mistakes that people make when they try to apply that rule to their own businesses?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So the 80-20 rule, and again, it says, so 80% of your revenue or something comes from 20% of your clients. But what's interesting is that you can't just say, okay, so let me just do a straight business analysis on that, or at least I prefer not to do that. And the reason why is because there might be one transaction, 3 transactions that your business had last year that were just an absolute mess. They were so resource intensive. You had to really scramble to get them done. They were absolutely outside your wheelhouse. You might have performed at them, but that might not have been like what you're really good at doing. You might have done a couple favors for a couple people. You charge a lot of money to get something done. It could be a huge amount of revenue, but those transactions are outliers. So I always say when you're applying like the 80-20 rule, you want to cut out the outliers on both sides and say, okay, these are, and really, when you're talking about clients, look at all the people that you really like doing business with and include them in your 80-20 analysis. Don't include the people you don't like doing business with, because the reality is you don't want to put yourself in a position where your 80-20 analysis requires you to go get more clients who you're going to serve, protect, who you're going to trust, you're going to respect, who are going to trust you, going to respect you. But you're going to go out and get more of those people, but those people aren't going to be the ones you enjoy serving. So I think that's one big mistake people make. The other part is they sometimes focus too much on revenue and not enough on profitability. So we got to think about how profitable some of the clients are. No matter what industry you're in, you might be getting a lot of revenue from a particular project, and it might be leading to a lot of other things. But the reality is that the client relationship, knowing the lifetime value of that client, helps make that distinction a little bit more meaningful. So again, the 80-20 is a great baseline, but understanding a little bit deeper of the total long-term longevity of that relationship is a good start. And the next part is also making sure you filter out all the people you don't actually want to work with.
Okay, Eugene, so you do the analysis and you find out who these people are, but what are you looking for in the analysis?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically there's at least 2 major categories of information you need to find out about your clients, about the people who you're looking to attract more of. And there's 2 levels. Level 1 is demographics, level 2 is psychographics. And they're both pretty important. Demographics, everybody kind of, when people think target market, this is what comes to mind. Okay, they live within a X number of radius, 20-mile radius of my business. They are they're this old, this marital status. This is what their education level is. This is what their family status is. This is what they do for work. Whatever it is, might be ethnicity, gender, age, all of those things. That's demographics, right? And that's helpful to know. And there are plenty of tools out there that, once we know that information, like Facebook, for example, lets you very specifically market to people based off of their demographics. But the second part, the psychographics, that's the one that often leaves. Those are the rocks that often are left unturned, and they're so important to turn over. So some of the things you want to know about your customers are, their personality, their attitudes, their values, how they describe the things that you do for them. What were their frustrations? What were their problems? What were their fears before they actually transacted with you? How did they make decisions to go with you? What are their interests? What does their lifestyle look like? What is their typical behavior in the marketplace? Are they impulse buyers or are they long-term shoppers? And then you can cater not only all of your marketing, but all of your content, all of your conversations, and really your entire sales process to what those people are actually like. A great way to look at this is if you're targeting your business to someone who makes snap decisions, is super busy, doesn't have time for BS, and doesn't have time for traditional, you talk about business to business, traditional long-term relationship building where you take someone out to 3 golf games and you take them out to some, and you take them out to to a night on the town and all this other like long-term business building. Somebody might be looking to make a decision now because they have a pain point right now, and understanding that about your customer allows you to tailor the sales process and allows you to tailor the marketing to something that would be really meaningful to them. And chances are you might enjoy working with that person. If your style is one that attracts those kind of people, they might be your lower maintenance clients who just let you get stuff done. Whereas some of your other clients, if you don't know that about them, they might be expecting you to, you might be wanting to take them out to dinner and, then take them golfing or whatever, but that's not what they want. Mm-hmm. So understanding these things about your clients allows you to serve your current customer base more effectively, but also allows you to attract more customers or more clients that you're able to serve just as well, and who would be a good fit for the kind of business that you do.
Okay, so you bring up all these really good points about things that you want to know about your clients, not customers. Mm-hmm. And the question then, of course, is how do you find all this information out? What do you do? What's your methodology? How do you bring that into your business to help you succeed?
Yeah, so awesome question. And the really, the silly answer is just ask. Right, but from a methodology standpoint, it actually does kind of get complicated. The simple answer is you want to know all this stuff. The complicated answer is you have to really tailor that methodology to who the client base is. And so, email surveys, certainly an option. Phone interviews, definitely one of the best options. The closer you can get to an in-person interview, but sometimes you got to be careful with phone interviews because you can't do them yourself. If I call a client and I say, hey, what did you think about this? What did you think about that? I might not get the best answer. They enjoy working with me. They might not want to hurt my feelings. They might not, they might downplay certain factors of their decision-making process, and they might not want to tell me certain things about themselves. So maybe having a third party do interviews for you might be helpful, but interviews, certainly a great opportunity to really establish a baseline of client psychographics and client demographics. Another part, email surveys, but with email surveys, I'll caution, they're very ineffective if they're lengthy, mm-hmm. and if they're a bunch of multiple choice questions. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate this and this? How often do you do this? Once a week, twice a week, 3? Like, none of those questions are really that effective. Open-ended questions to an audience that's pretty warmed up to you would be the best ones. Tell me about why you did this, or tell me about why you chose to transact with me. Tell me something you didn't like about the previous person you were working with. Tell me something we could improve here. Those kinds of questions allow you to get a little bit more insight into how these people think, and then you can take the metadata of all of that analysis. Like you do some interviews, you can transcribe those interviews, and you can actually run that transcription through a bunch of software and figure out what are the key words that people use to describe your business, to describe their personality, to describe their attitudes towards your business, your industry. What are some of their values? What are some of the things they're interested in? All that stuff will start to pop out at you. Make sense?
It does make sense. Okay, so Eugene, you gave us a lot of good information on the basics of who your target audience is and how you find that out. And you mentioned to me earlier a couple times that you have hours and hours of information that you can talk about this. So this is definitely not the end all be all, but this is a good place to start, and I would love to do more in depth with you at a later date. Sure. So you guys should look out for that.
Yeah, let's ask people to ask more specific mm-hmm. questions if there's specific questions about the methodology, or if they've tried this exercise in their business and they want to know. How about the email content corner? Maybe you guys do a segment on it too.
I would love to do that. So if you have any questions, leave them below or drop me a line at contentcorner@nationalstrategic.com, and we will see you next time.